Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clarity 16.0 support training. In this section, we will review enhancements related to timesheets. So what's new? We've just covered the fact that My Timesheets is accessibility compliant. So this section, that's just a statement there of what's new to make this section complete. The key thing I want to focus on in this area is the new user experience for adding tasks to your timesheet. That option has changed. I'm sorry, the user experience has changed, but the options that are afforded to the user are the same. It's just a different user experience to select your specific tasks or add assigned tasks or copy a previous timesheet with or without time. So they're presented in a new manner, and we'll go through that. In addition to having those options available to you when you're creating the timesheet for the first time, those options are also available to the user when they're inside, an actual timesheet. And so that's a big win. That was a customer request for some time. When the user chooses to add specific tasks, so they're using select tasks, the filter options that are there include all of the task, out of the box, stock, and custom attributes from a filtering perspective. The 1593 add task experience really had 9 fixed filters. And so the other thing is when you go into look at the add selected task, a configurable grid is being presented to the user, replacing the prior user experience. And as I mentioned, that previous or the 1593 experience add task filter options has static filters, and it's really limited to just those 9 filters. All right. So why is this important? So from that accessibility perspective, the overall initiative would not have been complete if My Timesheets was not updated to be compliant. And then as part of the process to deliver that accessible timesheet solution, time to market, minimum change impact to users were key drivers from a design perspective. So what's changed? So as I mentioned, My Timesheet is accessible. All of the elements of the accessibility important items were considered in terms of visual design, responsive design, keyboard navigation, and screen reader support. And we covered off on the carousel, all the various buttons, the expand collapse controls, the hidden buttons are available there, searchable drop downs are supported, and of course the text boxes for data entry are supported as well. Now, this is the key thing that I wanted to point out for users to be aware of, your customers to be aware of, that the add task flow has changed between 59.3 on the right and 16.0 in the center. You can see on the right, it was this box that allowed you to select multiple things to so add work, add assigned tasks, copy the previous timesheet, or copy previous timesheet with time. All of those are there. They're just presented in a different manner. Um, so we'll kind of go into the details associated with that. So the options that are there, the bottom 3 options that are there, um, like I mentioned, they're the same options that were available in the prior release. They're just presented in a different manner. There's some icons that are next to those that indicate smart filters. You'll learn more about smart filters tomorrow, but in context of timesheet, those are there to indicate that they are going to do some additional um, capabilities for the users. Now, and once you select those, your timesheet is auto-populated. So that's not a really big change for the user community. The largest change is when you use selected tasks, that's going to bring up the common grid, which is the biggest change versus the other experience. So got a little animation here. So when the user selects tasks, that your goal there is to pick specific tasks and bring them into your timesheet, and that's where the common grid is brought up. By default, the assign resources filter, that's a new filter type, which is equal to the current user, is applied. So in other words, I'm going to be presented with a listing of things that are assigned to me as a user. I can take that filter off and use other filters to find specific tasks. So that's a big win from a usability perspective. If I select one of the bottom three, it's going to auto-populate the timesheet for me. So this flow is fairly consistent with the 59.3. It's really that select task flow that's different. And I mentioned once within that timesheet, users can use that select task or add task button and come up with the same options. And again, if I select tasks, it's going to bring up that grid that's on the upper view here. So the select task grid is accessible from my timesheets, the add task button, right? When the user picks select tasks based upon the common grid tool set, we believe that user experience is improved and has that and it's also accessibility compliant, right? Our common grid is already compliant. So this is the user experience presented to the user specifically when they are selectively adding tasks to their timesheet. And again, by default, the assign resources filter is set to the current user, so you see what's there for you. The grid is available anytime the user needs to add tasks to their timesheet. And as you can see, there's flexible filter options, including all of the task object, stock, and custom attributes, which is a definite improvement over 59.3. So when the user chooses to add specific tasks, the available filter option, as I mentioned, includes all task object, stock, and custom attributes. Table on the right here lists out the available user options comparing 59.3 with 16.0 when the user is in that select task mode. The one delta there from 16.0, 59.3 did have a filter for investment type, such as an MPIO or an IDEA or a custom investment type. That's not an option to filter out those in when you're searching. So, and the key point here is on the left, the filter options that were available for the user to choose and find additional tasks to bring into their timesheet was limited to these 9 filters. So we certainly exposed it or advanced it from the 16.0 perspective. So be aware of that. Okay, well, let's take a look at the new add task user experience from my timesheet. Okay, we're going to stay here as Ed, and I'll just go to a new open period here. And this is what the user experience is. The first time you arrive on open period, there's nothing there. And so here, add some tasks. So as I mentioned, we select add tasks. You choose add tasks, and you have these various options. You can see the smart filters there for the bottom 3. Typical workflow is add assigned tasks. I'll just select that, and that'll auto-populate the timesheet, and Ed is good to go. While I'm here, I have add tasks again. Oh, and I also want to point out that remove tasks is the same experience. Nothing has changed there. You can select, all of them individually, what have you. I'll deselect that. So I'll come back to add tasks. And again, I have that same set of options here. I'm going to select tasks, and that's going to bring me to, I meant to have this teed up. The default filter here is assign resources is the current user, or in this case, Ed. It's one of those relative filters. So this is going to make it simple for me to just select those things that are relevant that are currently assigned to me. However, I've got another view here that's my available task. And when the filter comes off, that's kind of the rules that are behind how are these presented to me. These are tasks where the investment is active. These are either projects, ideas, customer investment types, or NPIOs, or I have been allocated to an investment as an individual, or I've been allocated as a member of a team that's been allocated to the investment. So those are kind of the reasons behind why I see 16 tasks here versus only 4 on the previous view. I'll go ahead and pick the top 2 here. Actually, let me sort this by name. Doesn't matter. Oh, it's not got the investment name here. I was going to go ahead and just select 2. Select 2 here and add those to my timesheet. Very simple, straightforward, right? You get the experience you would have expected. Again, add tasks is here at any time that I need to. I'm going to say copy previous timesheet with time. So I'm going to get a warning that says, hey, you've got some items in your grid. There's no time allocated to them yet. So you can continue and we'll remove all of those and bring in the ones that you're asking for, which I will do. And it's going to bring over that prior timesheet with time. So that's kind of the behavior there. If you're going to try and replace, bring in using the smart filters like copy previous timesheet, it's going to tell me, hey, wait a minute. It's going to bring in things that don't have time. So these all have time. So I should get an exact refresh, right? So it's just, you can continue to do that. All right, so that concludes the demo of the new My Timesheet Add Task user experience.